Hey everyone, welcome to another week of looking at the patent real-time signal processing system for serially transmitted data. This is for the UC Berkeley IEOR 190G course, and today I'm going to be looking at the first claim in more depth. So this is going to be interesting. But first, I want to talk about the claims as a whole for this patent. There's 41 claims, and 4 of them are independent, which means that they essentially are making a point in and of themselves, and then there's 37 other ones which are dependent, meaning that they rely on one of the independent claims. So that's pretty straightforward. This particular patent, as we talked about last week, is a system patent essentially, where we're not looking at a new device. We're just looking at a method of how currently existing inventions interact with each other, thereby creating a new system. So let's now move down to Claim 1, and taking a look at the preamble, it says a signal processing system for providing a plurality of real-time services to and from a number of independent client applications and devices. And then it says said system comprising, and then it goes into more detail in the claim. So what is this preamble really talking about here? Well, first, when it says a signal processing system, it's talking about a central computing unit and providing a plurality of real-time services to and from a number of independent applications and devices. Essentially, what that means is it's actually somewhat axiomatic. It takes a lot of data from different sources and it processes them, and these sources are generally from outside of the unit. So, for example, on the smartphones, it'll be taking data such as video or voice, and it'll be handling that data in a way that makes it usable through the API. Okay, now let's go and look at Claim 1, the next part, talking about, well, here, let's just go into it. After it says said subsystem comprising the preamble, it goes on to say a subsystem comprising a central or a host central processing unit, CPU, operating in accordance with at least one application program and a device handler program. Said subsystem further comprising an adapter subsystem interoperating with said CPU and said device. Then it continues, but let's first talk about this. So, a subsystem comprising a host central processing unit operating in accordance with at least one application program and a device handler program. So we have the CPU, which you can think of this, it'll be probably easier to think of it as a computer or a processor, the main part of the unit, and it's operating in accordance with at least one application program and a device handler program. So what that means is an application program could be a variety of things. This is a very broad patent. So essentially dealing with a more specific task. And the device handler program is dealing with importing some form of data from another hardware system. And then it says said subsystem further comprising an adapter subsystem interoperating with said CPU and said device. So it needs to have some kind of, by adapters, that could be a variety of things. It could be a physical adapter such as a cable, or it could be a wireless adapter. It could be really any intermediary system from transmitting from the device to the CPU. So that's not particularly exciting, but that's what it is. Then it says a real-time signal processing system for performing a plurality of data transforms comprising a plurality of real-time signal processing operations. So that's also pretty straightforward, just saying that the real-time signal processing system is essentially something that's handling this data that's coming in a stream type system, and it has to interpret it on a very fast and constant scale. So this is different from current systems that would maybe work faster with a bulk amount of data. Let's say you're just transferring a file or something like that, where it doesn't need to be in a constant flow. But if we're dealing with a voice or video, you obviously want that being imported or transmitted at a real-time basis. The next part says at least one real-time application program interface API coupled between the subsystem and the real-time signal processing subsystem to allow the subsystem to interoperate with said real-time services. So all that's saying is just it needs to have a framework in order to deal or to connect the processing subsystem to the real-time signal processing unit. So just an interaction interface. Okay, so that is kind of lengthy, and it's not particularly as straightforward as, say, the slide to unlock patent, but I think the patent itself is very interesting, and in future weeks when we get into dealing with the lawsuit and how this is going to work out in the grand scheme of things, I think things will hopefully pick up. But this background is important. So just a summary, this is a subsystem in, well, what we're dealing with right now, the Android and Windows mobile systems that handles different data types. It's pretty much that simple, and we're dealing it in real time right here. So this patent is mainly interesting to me because it's very broad, and it's a huge spectrum that it's covering. There is a huge spectrum it's covering, and that's why it's the lawsuit is not only about Android but Windows mobile phones as well. So even though it's broad, it's very carefully worded, and it does present a new system that wasn't really used before. So it is pretty revolutionary. But we'll be talking about this more in future weeks. So hang tight, and I will see you next time.